we must understand that fossil fuels such as coal, natural gas and crude oil are non-renewable sources of energy. According to a research done in 2011, fossil fuels made up almost 83% of the world's energy usage. Hence, we can say we are too dependent on a source of energy that is depleting at a faster rate than we think. Before we go further, let us understand how fossil fuel is created. Plants use solar energy for photosynthesis, where they store the energy in their chemical compounds. This energy gets released when the plant dies. However, sometimes these plants are buried before they totally decompose. Hence, the solar energy in those chemical compounds gets trapped in the rocks, and thus this fuel is called fossil fuel. This process takes a long time. However, we have an accumulation of such fossil fuels of millions of years. But the pace at which we are digging up the fossil fuel is also millions of times faster than the rate of its creation. Thus, we must soon find various alternative sources of energy such as nuclear power.
We all check the time before we leave for anywhere, don't we? In fact, you all must have checked the time before leaving home for class as well. But, do you all know that there was a huge scarcity of watches in the US during 1850s? Having a personal watch during that era was a luxury and a status symbol. Only the rich used to have their own personal watch, that too on a gold chain. There were huge clocks built in the squares of European towns for people to check the time. Later on, industrialization was happening at a fast pace in the US. People were considered skilled on the basis of how fast they used to get the job done. Now, how could someone know how fast the job was done until he or she had an exact track of time? Thus, an accurate measurement of time was a necessity in that period. On account of industrialization, goods were manufactured in bulk and became affordable. This included watches. The word wristwatch came into the picture during the 1900s.
We'll be discussing several important topics in today's meeting. But before we start the meeting, let's introduce ourselves to the new members of the organization. We are a non-profit organization named Roots of the Future. We are working to keep the environment clean and green and also to create an awareness amongst people about how important it is to have a clean and green environment for the future of all living beings. Let's now move on to the first agenda of the meeting. This quarter's profit from our new initiative of manufacturing and selling recycled environmental garments have made a profit of $15,000. Secondly, we have reviewed the bids for multiple vendors for the purchase of trees to be planted on the occasion of our Tree Plantation Day. We have selected Messrs. Trees and More as our final vendor. Also, please be informed that the vendor has allowed all of us to visit their premises and have a look at the trees whenever we want. We would also welcome any suggestion on what else you all think shall be done on the occasion.
Class, today we are going to talk about a deadly disease named Alzheimer's. The disease is caused when proteins in a patient's brain group together and form a cluster that damages the brain cells. Over the period of time, this cluster even kills the brain cells, which in turn shrinks the parts of the brain and the patient starts losing his memory. Alzheimer's is a type of mental illness that normally starts with small memory loss. The same then grows enough to disrupt the daily chores of the patient. As per a research conducted by US Health Organization, it majorly affects the people aging more than 65. There were a few cases where even young ones were affected. This deadly disease does not have cure invented yet, hence, the treatment can only slow down the symptoms.
In today's time we can see people of all classes wearing jeans. The same was not the case in the year 1853. In that time period, mining was going on at its peak on account of the attraction towards gold. However, mining includes crawling, climbing and whatnot. The clothes of the miners didn't keep up and were wearing out soon. Levi Strauss, a German immigrant, who observed the issue and decided to do something about the problem. He firstly used his brown cotton tent cloth and created plain trousers without any back pockets. The same was cheaper, however, later on he decided to make the trousers from denim, imported from France, and colored it indigo. It was by 1860, when almost everyone, including farmers, officers, miners etc. started using jeans on a daily basis.